The year was 1904, a world hungry for depth, and a man, Phineas Plank, foolishly... Every vessel requires an inspection, but Phineas had outsourced his to the least reliable member of his team. He received one last warning. A desperate plea from the portmaster. A plea that... Inside the cramped metal coffin, the last preparations were made. And with a single fateful... But the submarine had other plans. Immediate, catastrophic, and very, very wet plans. The journey had ended. The vessel was stabilized, though perhaps not in the orientation Phineas had in time. A valuable commodity. He sought comfort in his provisions. The emergency supply crate, designed for months at sea. He was not alone. The locals, accustomed to the silence of the deep, now found themselves observing a... Desperation demanded contact. A signal, a flare, anything to notify the surface. Every submersible has a structural weakness. Phineas' weakness, it seemed, was every single... A moment of reflection. He retrieved his logbook. A chronicle of his genius. Flicker of power. The last flicker of power. The batteries, hastily wired with duct tape and good intentions, had finally resigned. Dark. In the dark, the imagination runs wild. Every tap, every whisper of the current's a monstrous... The primary escape mechanism. The only chance. Phineas, with adrenaline surging, lease handle. After consuming a dry sandwich, Phineas found the true handle. The one marked, unequivocally, hatch release. The cork held. But the very air within the hull, now compressed by the depth, turned on him. He remembered his personal propulsion. The small, magnificent propeller mounted upon his back. Then came a sound. Not the groan of metal, nor the bubble of air. A distinct... The door to the deep had been answered, and the depths had sent back. It wasn't attacking, it was curious. The squid, a creature of immense power, seemed utterly... Amidst the chaos and the cephalopods, a spark of genius! An air pocket! A single... The air failed to lift the sub. But the sheer concussive force of the blast ripped the hull from the mud. Too fast! The deadly sickness of rapid decompression was now a greater through than the seabed.
The deep had released him. The giant red squid, perhaps disappointed by the lack of structural integrity, offered a final...
The shallow waters offer no comfort. Instead, they present a new series of terrifying man-made obstacles. A direct collision was imminent. A vast, immovable object barreling toward him at an alarm. Salvation came not from an engine, but from nature. A giant, sudden displacement of water. The cabin became a pinball machine. Phineas, a fleshy, yellow-suited ball, bounced off every wall level. The speed lessened. The chaos subsided. Above him, a sight he thought he'd never see again. With a final, gargantuan lurch, the Nautilus noodle burst forth from the depths. Phineas was, to put it mildly, disoriented. The world was spinning, his ears were ringing, and his sandwich... Portmaster Winkle, surveying his pristine harbor, noticed a rather peculiar new buoy. A buoy with an alarming tendency to list to one side. Communication, his one true link to civilization. Or at least, to a very confused man in a... He bellowed, he shouted, he implored! But the faithful megaphone, after a century of silence... Portmaster Winkle adjusted his binoculars. Was that a man in a yellow suit honking at him from a rusty can? Had the seagulls finally gone mad? Regardless of the honking, a vessel was in distress. A call for rescue was made, though Winkle suspected it was more of a call for a rubber duck exterminator. The tugboat, mighty in spirit, if not in horsepower, engaged its tiny engine. Even the local wildlife, seemingly concerned, decided to lend a fin, though their efforts were, predictably, enough! He had faced the crushing deep, the monstrous squid, and a perpetually damp sandwich. He was not to be outwitted by a school of a flare. A brilliant burst of light. Or, in Finney's hands, a rather flash. A raw, undeniably slimy fish. This rescue was becoming a personal affront to Portmaster Winkle's immaculate uniform. With the last ounce of pressure, the Nautilus noodle decided on its own fate. A grand Phineas emerged. And so, Captain Phineas Finn Plank, the man who sank instantly, found himself exactly where he started.